Hey there. I want you to think back to the last time you genuinely celebrated something small. Not a promotion, not a graduation, not a major life milestone, but something small. Maybe you finally organized that drawer that's been bothering you for months. Maybe you had a difficult conversation you'd been avoiding. Maybe you just got through a hard day without falling apart. Did you pause? Did you feel proud? Or did you immediately move on to the next thing on your endless to-do list, thinking, well, that's just what I'm supposed to do anyway? If you're like most of us, you probably did the latter. And today, we're going to explore the silent language of why we've stopped celebrating our small victories, and what we're losing because of it. There's something peculiar happening in our collective psychology. We've become a society that's perpetually waiting for permission to feel good about ourselves. We scroll through highlight reels of other people's accomplishments, measuring our private struggles against their public triumphs. And in this comparison game, our small victories don't just feel inadequate, they feel invisible. But here's what's haunting about this. Those small victories are the actual fabric of our lives. The big moments, they're rare. They're the fireworks. But the small wins, those are the stars that light up our everyday sky. And we've stopped looking up. Let me share something from psychology that might resonate with you. There's a phenomenon called the hedonic treadmill. This idea that we quickly adapt to positive changes and return to a baseline level of happiness. But there's something else at play here, something more insidious. We've internalized what psychologist Carol Dweck might call a never-enough mindset. It's not quite the opposite of a growth mindset, but rather a distortion of it. We've taken the healthy idea that we can always improve and twisted it into the toxic belief that we're never doing enough, never achieving enough, never being enough. Think about it. You finish a project at work. Instead of acknowledging the effort, your brain immediately jumps to, well, it could have been better. Sarah probably would have done it faster. And it's not like this is going to change my career trajectory anyway. This internal dialogue is not helping you grow. It's just exhausting you. Here's where it gets interesting from a psychological standpoint. We live in an era obsessed with productivity, optimization, and achievement. Every self-help book, every productivity guru, every motivational post tells us to aim higher, do more, be better. And somehow, in this relentless pursuit of excellence, we've lost the ability to recognize progress. The irony? Research in positive psychology consistently shows that acknowledging small wins actually increases motivation and productivity. When we celebrate progress, our brains release dopamine, the same neurotransmitter associated with reward and motivation. This creates a positive feedback loop. Acknowledgement leads to good feelings, which lead to increased motivation, which leads to more progress. But we've broken that loop. We've convinced ourselves that celebration equals complacency. That if we feel good about small things, we'll stop striving for big things. That self-acknowledgement is somehow self-indulgent. Let's be honest about something. Social media hasn't just changed how we communicate. It's changed how we evaluate our own worth. We're constantly exposed to carefully curated success stories. Someone got promoted. Someone's traveling the world. Someone's startup just got funded. Someone just ran their first marathon. And your brain, doing what brains do, makes comparisons. I just managed to get to the gym twice this week. Suddenly feels pathetic compared to someone's transformation photos. I finally cleaned my apartment. Feels embarrassing when someone else is buying their dream home. But here's the silent language we're not talking about. Behind every polished post is a human being who also struggles with mundane tasks, who also has days where getting out of bed feels like an achievement, who also questions whether they're doing enough. We're all fighting invisible battles. And when we only celebrate the visible victories, we invalidate the majority of our lived experience. I want you to sit with this for a moment. When was the last time you truly felt proud of yourself? Not externally validated, someone else telling you that you did well, but internally genuinely proud? If you're struggling to answer that, you're experiencing what psychologists call achievement anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure from accomplishments. And it's becoming increasingly common. Here's what happens when we stop celebrating small victories. We lose touch with our sense of agency. We start feeling like we're just going through the motions, like nothing we do really matters. This feeds into a broader sense of helplessness and, eventually, can contribute to depression and burnout. We also lose our internal compass. When we only value external validation and major milestones, we become disconnected from what genuinely matters to us. We chase achievements that look good rather than feel meaningful. There's a narrative running in your head right now. It's the story of who you are and what you're capable of. And if that story only includes your failures and your unmet expectations, if it glosses over every small brave thing you do, every small kind gesture, every small step forward, then you're not telling yourself the truth. You're telling yourself a tragedy when your life is actually full of quiet triumphs. So how do we break this pattern? How do we relearn the language of self-acknowledgement? First, we need to understand that celebrating small victories isn't about lowering our standards. It's about honoring the process. Growth isn't a straight line from point A to point B. It's messy. It involves setbacks and sideways movements and days where just maintaining is an achievement. Second, we need to practice what I call radical self-witnessing. This means actively noticing and naming our efforts, not just our outcomes. I showed up even though I was anxious. I tried something new even though it was uncomfortable. I was kind to myself when I made a mistake. Third, we need to create rituals of acknowledgement. This doesn't mean throwing a party every time you do the dishes. It means pausing. It means allowing yourself a moment of, I did that. Maybe it's a literal pause, a deep breath, a moment of recognition. Maybe it's writing it down. Maybe it's telling someone who gets it. I want to invite you to try something this week. Choose 3 small things each day, things you usually wouldn't count as victories, and acknowledge them. Not to anyone else, just to yourself. Say it out loud if you need to. I did that, and it mattered. Notice what happens. Notice the resistance. Notice if it feels self-indulgent or silly. Notice if it actually feels kind of good. Because here's the truth. You've been brave in small ways every single day. You've been resilient. You've been trying. And that deserves to be seen, even if only by you. The silent language of why we don't celebrate small victories anymore. It's the whisper that we're not enough. It's the fear that if we're satisfied with where we are, we'll never get where we want to go. It's the exhausting belief that rest equals laziness and acknowledgement equals arrogance. But what if we're wrong? What if celebration and ambition can coexist? What if honoring the small victories is exactly what gives us the fuel for the bigger journey? Your small victories are speaking a language. The language of persistence, of courage, of showing up for your life even when it's hard. Maybe it's time we started listening. Thank you for spending this time in reflection with me. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about one small victory from your week in the comments. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You're doing better than you think.